In 1820, Hans Christian Ørsted discovered that a current carrying conductor produces a magnetic field. That means when a current passes through a wire, it produces a magnetic field. How can you detect that magnetic field? Place a compass needle near to a current carrying conductor. The compass needle will deflect. What is the reason? Because there are two magnetic fields. One is produced by the current carrying conductor and the other is produced by the compass needle. Because of the interaction of the field, the compass needle is deflecting. So, Christian Ørsted discovered a current carrying conductor produces a magnetic field. What do you mean by magnetic flux? Magnetic flux is represented by phi, the symbol phi, equal to BA cos theta. BA cos theta. B is the magnetic field. A is the area of the loop or a coil. And theta is the angle between the magnetic field and the normal of the coil. Normal of the coil means it's a line which is 90 degree to the coil. So phi equal to BA cos theta. Phi is the magnetic flux. Magnetic flux is measured in a unit Weber. It is measured in a unit Weber. So magnetic flux is measured by the product of B A cos theta. B is the magnetic field. A is the area of the loop or a coil. Theta is the angle between the magnetic field and the normal of the coil. In 1831, Michael Faraday is the father of electricity. He discovered the reverse phenomenon. Christian Ørsted discovered current can produce magnetic field. Michael Faraday found a magnetic field can produce current. A magnetic field can produce current. So he did so many experiments with a coil and a magnet. With a coil and magnet, he did so many experiments. When we move a coil or a magnet, when there is a relative motion between magnet and coil, it will produce current or it will produce voltage. If you take a magnet towards the coil, you can see a current production. How can you detect it? Connect a galvanometer to the coil. The galvanometer is a device which detects the presence of current. So when there is a flow of current, the galvanometer will deflect. You can see when the magnet moves towards the coil or away from the coil, the galvanometer will deflect. When it moves towards the coil, it will deflect in one direction. When it moves away from the coil, it will deflect in opposite direction. So when there is a relative motion between magnet and coil, then only there will be a production of current. And this current is known as induced current. Because here we are not using any battery or a cell for the production of current. Here the current is inducing by the relative motion between the magnet and the coil. If both magnet and coil are at rest, there will be no production of current or there will be no voltage. No induced current, no induced voltage. So, by the coil magnet experiment, from the results of this experiment, he made the conclusion in the form of laws. So, Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction says what? The magnitude of induced EMF in a coil is directly proportional to the rate of change of flux. The magnitude of induced EMF in a coil is directly proportional to the rate of change of flux. It is represented in the way epsilon is directly proportional to minus n delta phi divided by delta t. Epsilon is representing induced voltage. N represents the number of turns. Delta phi divided by delta t represents rate of change of magnetic flux. From the equation, it is clear. If the rate of change of flux is more will be the induced EMF. If the rate of change of flux is less will be the induced EMF. So, induced EMF is directly proportional to number of turns. That means, if there are more number of turns, there will be more induced EMF. If the rate of change of flux is more, there will be more induced EMF. So this law is known as Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. So Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction states that the magnitude of induced EMF is directly proportional to the rate of change of flux. Or you can simply write epsilon equal to minus n delta phi divided by delta t. So by using this law, or on the basis of law, the generator is working. We are first discussing AC generator. AC generator works on the principle of electromagnetic induction. That means when there is a relative motion between the magnet and the coil, there will be production of induced EMF. That is the electromagnetic induction. So principle of AC generator is electromagnetic induction. Electromagnetic induction is what? When there is a change of flux associated with a coil, then there will be an induced EMF. So this is electromagnetic induction, and the AC generator works on the principle of electromagnetic induction. Then, in the case of AC generator, what is the energy conversion? AC generator converts mechanical energy to electrical energy. AC generator converts mechanical energy to electrical energy. So we are getting output electric current. We are supplying mechanical energy as the input, and we are getting electric current as the output. So energy conversion in an AC generator is mechanical energy is converting into electrical energy. Next we are going to discuss which are the main parts of AC generator. The main parts of AC generator are the magnet, second one the coil or armature, third one slip rings, fourth one carbon brushes. So the first part is the magnet. In an AC generator we are using a strong magnet, a powerful magnet. Between the magnet we are keeping the coil, and the coil is rotated by some forces. So the main components are the magnet and the coil. And the coil is rotating in a magnetic field. The coil is rotating in a magnetic field. When the coil rotates, the coil is connected to the slip ring. The slip ring also rotates. The slip ring is connected to the carbon brush. And the carbon brushes are stationary. They are not moving. And the carbon brushes is connecting to the external circuit. So these are the main parts of AC generator. So which are the main parts of AC generator? A magnet, a powerful magnet, the coil or armature, slip rings, and the carbon brushes. So here the coil is rotating in a magnetic field. It will produce current. And these currents are taken by the carbon brushes taking outside. So output power is taken through the carbon brushes. So these are the main parts of the AC generator. Then here when the coil rotates in a magnetic field, the magnet is stationary and the coil is rotating in the magnetic field. We are getting induced current, or we are getting voltage. So how can you find out the direction of induced current forming in the coil? By using Fleming's right hand rule. By Fleming's right hand rule we can find out the induced current direction. So here the coil is rotating by giving some forces. And here the new thing is the production of current. So we are having two known directions, which are the rotation of the coil, the direction of rotation of the coil and the direction of the magnetic field. So by using Fleming's right hand rule, you can find out the direction of induced current. Thumb gives the direction of rotation of the coil. Forefinger gives the direction of magnetic field. And the middle finger gives the direction of current produced. So you can easily understand like this. When a coil rotates in a magnetic field, that is given by the thumb. When a coil rotates, it is given by the direction of thumb. In a magnetic field, that is given by the forefinger, it will produce current. So when a coil rotates in a magnetic field, produces current. When a coil rotates in a magnetic field, it will produce current. So Fleming's right hand rule is used for finding the direction of current produced in an AC generator. So the output of AC generator is alternating current. So here by the action of slip rings, we are getting the output current as alternating current. After each half rotation, the direction of current is changed. So that's why the generator is known as AC generator. AC generator output is alternating current. So after each half rotation, the direction of current is changing.